Hey guys, Ryan Nitzen with Cycle News Magazine, and today we have a really cool test for you. We're riding the 2021 Honda CRF300L against the 2021 Kawasaki KLX300. Jump on and let's go for a ride on what we're calling the not-so-small bore showdown. Alright guys, we're back in the studio and we have wrapped up our time with the CRF300 and the Kawasaki KLX300. We've learned from the past reviews of both of the 250 models that these are surprisingly capable bikes that are extremely fun to ride despite their relatively small displacement, soft suspension, and affordable price tags. Our review of the new 300cc versions of each bike have revealed that both bikes have gotten better, and you can see both of those tests on our website. A little more displacement and refinements to both bikes went a long way, and although they are completely street legal and can comfortably cover road miles at 60 plus miles an hour, they're probably better suited to exploring dirt roads and trails or running quick errands around town. After a significant amount of time riding both of these bikes on the pavement and the dirt, maybe a little more time on the dirt, we've compiled our thoughts on some main categories that you'll likely consider when choosing which one of these bikes will be best residing in your garage. First up, let's start with the price. There's a couple options here, and both bikes are relatively affordable at well under the $6,000 mark. Of the two bikes, the Honda does come in at the lowest MSRP at $5,249, which beats the Kawasaki by $350 at $5,599 for the Kawasaki. Not a huge difference here, but that is a lot of gas money for these two bikes. The CRF does offer an ABS option where the Kawasaki does not, and this ABS option will set you back another $300. Still $50 under the Kawasaki. With the Kawi, you do get two color options, the traditional Kawasaki lime green or this cool fragment camo gray. The camo gray is $200 more than the standard green version, and the Honda is only offered in one color, red. Next up, let's talk about the styling. Here, the Honda is a clear winner. It looks modern and racy, and the Kawasaki does kind of look old school and a bit boring. Funny though, at first when we did our KLX test, we thought it looked pretty sharp, but when we did this test day and we parked them next to each other, it's not really up to par. Not that it's a bad looking bike, it's just that this Honda looks so dang good. I mean, at a first glance, it wouldn't look that far out of place under the Honda factory tent sitting next to Ken Roczen or Chase Sexton's factory moto bikes. The Honda bodywork, the graphics, and the black wheels just look plain sweet. The KLX, on the other hand, kind of looks dated and a bit conservative in comparison, but we did like the camo version with its black rims and black faded out frame. It does look more modern, but some of our hardcore moto guys drew some mixed opinions. There was really no clear winner in the comfort department, as both bikes sit in a more relaxed position for riding on dirt roads and pavements. The Honda seat does feel a bit more cushiony, but we do know from past experience that the seat foam on the CRF can break down a bit quicker. We've had no issues yet, but time will tell with more testing. The Kawasaki does have a little bit taller seat height. It makes it a little bit comfier for taller riders, but the weak link on the KLX is the foot pegs, as they're just simply too small. You kind of get used to it after riding that bike for a while, but when you jump back and forth, you'll quickly notice the larger, more stable foot pegs on the Honda. Another talking point for both bikes is the seat height, and both bikes sit right about 35 inches. However, the Honda seat is about a half an inch closer to the ground than the Kawasaki, the CRF sitting 34.6 inches and the KLX at 35.2 inches to the seat height. In the suspension department is where things really start to separate themselves. Remember that $350 you spent extra on the Kawasaki? Well, this is where it really comes through in the superior suspension. Kawasaki stepped it up this year by fitting the KLX300 with some pretty good suspension components, and up front you'll find a fairly high-tech 43mm upside-down cartridge fork. The cartridge part is key because it allows the rider to adjust damping, in this case on the rebound and the suspension, with 16 clicks each. The cartridge design also prevents the mixture of oil and air for a more consistent damping feel. The Honda forks are also a 43mm upside-down fork but do not feature a cartridge, and as a result they are non-adjustable. In the back, both bikes feature single shock units that ride on linkages. They're pretty similar, and the Kawasaki, however, you do get a more sophisticated shock that features a piggyback reservoir to help keep shock fluid cooler for better consistency and overall performance. The Kawasaki has a spring, preload, and like the fork, offers a 16-way compression and rebound damping adjustability. All great stuff you don't normally see on a bike for less than $6,000. Honda, on the other hand, offers none of these things with its shock except for a simple spring preload. They went this route to keep the price down, figuring that the entry-level rider won't truly reap the benefits of the better performance of a higher price shock. Despite the CRF's simple suspension, it will work fine for a newbie. It comes from the factory set up quite soft with both spring and dampening, which again, a beginner rider won't think twice about. But a novice skilled rider and riders above that ability will quickly outpace the undersprung and underdamped shock and will have to pay a lot more than the simple $350 to remedy that situation. The Honda's fork is also like the shock, very soft. The Kawasaki's fork is soft but much firmer than the Honda's and as mentioned offers damping adjustability. The Kawasaki shock comes much stiffer from the factory and though it's still a little on the soft side, it can take far more abuse before reaching its limits in the hands of a more experienced rider. Overall, the Kawasaki suspension is cushy enough for the beginner rider to enjoy, yet firm enough to also keep up with the more aggressive or heavier riders, the latter of which can't be said about the Honda. Simply put, you can push the Kawasaki much harder than you can on the Honda on the same technical trail before running out of suspension. Overall, a beginner rider probably won't notice the difference between the two suspensions, but more skilled riders or heavier riders will, and for them, the Kawasaki is a clear winner. The suspension performance is another big part of the motorcycle handling, and for that reason, the Kawasaki is again much easier to ride at a higher pace. It simply goes through the rough stuff better and corners better with less effort. The soft rear shock on the Honda seems to squat down even when turning, which makes the front end feel vague. But then again, a beginner rider with a lower experience level may not have these same issues when it comes to the bikes. Both bikes tip the scales at a little over 300 pounds, 314 for the Honda and 304 for the Kawasaki, so neither bike is exactly light, but they're not exactly heavy like a big adventure bike either. With the weight difference, we don't think you'll have an issue once the bikes are in motion. The Honda actually might feel a little lighter because of a lower center of gravity and the lower seat height. Overall, both bikes handle alike and perform pretty well at slower speeds, but your confidence will slowly fade on the Honda compared to the Kawasaki as the trail pace picks up. It's a close battle in the engine performance department between these two bikes. They are both good performers, just a bit different, and the Honda seems to have benefited the most from the added displacement from the previous year. Even experienced riders can enjoy these bikes on the trails as they have enough power to climb decent hills, chug through soft terrain, or accelerate quickly out of turns. Our testers admitted it was difficult to feel a significant power difference between the two bikes, but the side-by-side drag races on the pavement did reveal that the Kawasaki has a clear advantage when it comes to outright power. This doesn't surprise us too much since the CRF is giving away 12 cc's, with technically it's a 286cc engine compared to the KLX's 298cc engine. However, one of our testers felt that the Honda had better overall performance and torque in the low to mid-range, which actually could be an advantage for newer riders. Both bikes carry the same amount of fuel, 2 gallons for the Kawasaki and 2.1 gallons for the Honda, which for most beginner or novice riders is more than enough for one sitting on these bikes. When it comes to the brakes, we preferred the braking performance of the Kawasaki, which had better bite up front compared to the Honda. The Honda's front brake just felt a little too mushy for our liking and required a good squeeze on the lever for some hurry-up stopping. However, this might not be a bad thing for a beginner rider who is still trying to master the scary front brake because the Honda is slightly more forgiving than the Kawi. So no real winner in this department. We have to give a kudos to the Honda for offering an ABS system, which can be disabled in the back for off-road riding. Even some of our experienced test riders won't say no to at least front ABS on the dual sport bikes when given the opportunity. This Honda that we tested on this day was not fitted with the ABS system. Another few points before we pick a clear winner. We've been plenty happy riding these bikes the way they come stock, but there's a few things we'd add right away if these were our own personal bikes. First up is a set of handguards. Even a cheap set of plastic ones would be a nice addition to either bike. Next would be some type of skid plate for the under bike protection. The Honda comes without a skid plate, and the Kawasaki has a small but effective bolt-on skid plate with rock guards welded onto the frame. Any extra protection always gives us some added confidence while riding a bike off the pavement. As mentioned before, a larger set of foot pegs would be a must for the KLX. The stock tires are pretty decent and we'd likely get our money's worth out of them, but would be eager to step up from the stockers and get a more aggressive and better sticking set of DOT knobbies. Same idea goes for the handlebars, as we wouldn't be heartbroken if the steel bars were to bend, as it would give us an excuse to replace them with some more sturdier aluminum ones. We'd also look into a folding set of mirrors for each bike. In the end, both bikes hit the bullseye when it comes to doing what they were designed to do, and that's appealing to the entry-level or inexperienced rider who's looking for something inexpensive for on- and off-road use while also delivering in the performance department. They handle well, they have good suspension packages, and motors are extremely capable without the intimidation factor. The added displacement from 250 to 300 cc's just made them more fun and even easier to manage. As mentioned before, the main thing that sets these two bikes apart is the suspension. The Kawasaki's is far superior to the Hondas when these bikes hit the dirt. A true beginner might not even notice the difference, but a more experienced rider will certainly prefer the KLX's suspension over the CRF's. Again, anyone new to the sport will likely enjoy either bike equally, it's just that a newbie will outgrow the Honda much sooner than the Kawasaki, making the KLX300 our pick of this two bike litter.